Good evening, N3 Primetime viewers. I'm Angie, and boy, do we have a jam-packed show for you tonight. Elijah Schaefer is back in studio as Gary is out on a secret mission. Elijah has some explosive stories lined up, from Senator Feinstein's hospitalization, reigniting the term limit debate, to eyebrow-raising financial revelations surrounding the Biden family. Then we're diving into a Gold Star mother's emotional testimony on a startling interaction with President Biden. Over in Oakland, air horns are becoming the new alarm system amidst soaring crime rates. And hold on to your hats, down in Texas, suspected cartel affiliates are lurking at the border. If that wasn't enough, later on, don't miss our Prime Tweets segment, where we spotlight your thoughts and dive into Looking at You segment, introducing someone you've got to know more about. Ready for some fireworks? Elijah, over to you.
Good evening, America. I'm Elijah Schaefer. I'm glad to be back on the Next News Network on tonight on N3 Primetime. We dive into the stories that hit at the very heart of our nation's fabric. From the halls of Congress, where age and service reignite term limit discussions, to the financial alleys where the Biden family's dealings come under the microscope, as we see a Gold Star mother challenging the narrative of our nation's leadership, we are also witnessing the city of Oakland facing a crescendo of crime, prompting unconventional safety measures. And right at our southern border, the specter of armed cartel members looms large. But why does this all matter? Just as a foundation determines the strength of the structure that it holds, the underlying integrity and security of our nation define our collective future. Take, for example, the foundation of our economy, the US dollar. Since the 1970s, it's lost 85% of its value, and with elections around the corner, there's a real risk of the government further diluting the value by printing more money. But here's the thing. Gold withstands inflation. When everything else seems shaky, gold remains a steadfast standard. That's why Noble Gold Investments is here for you. Their 5-star reviews speak for themselves, so invest with confidence today and receive a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Simply visit noblegoldinvestments.com or dial 1-877-646-5347. Just as you wouldn't build on a shaky foundation, don't let your financial future be left to uncertainty. Angie, these stories resonate with the core issues we face. What stories will you be delving into on tonight's episode?
Well, Elijah, tonight I will be talking about a bold move by Representative Gates to bring prayer back to schools. But is it about the First Amendment or politics? A shocking attack on a Republican staffer prompts security questions. Proterra's dramatic fall. Is this an example of misplaced priorities or just bad management? As the GOP gears up for a high-stakes debate, what is the strict criteria and who's already made the cut? And is the impeachment of President Biden on the horizon or just political posturing? Why does this matter to you? Because these stories touch on our constitutional rights, our safety, and the direction our nation's leadership is taking. Elijah, over to you for our first special report tonight.
Now for the real news. When a dedicated senator like Dianne Feinstein finds herself briefly hospitalized after a fall, the entire nation sits up. But what's the deeper story here? Why does Senator Feinstein's health garner such extensive media attention? There's a pressing narrative, an undercurrent that perhaps we've been ignoring for far too long. The significance of term limits and the implications of a lifelong career in politics. If you ever wondered why there's an increasing debate about political term limits, tonight's special report is just for you. Stay with us to the end. Our final thought might just change how you view the structure of our political system. Senator Dianne Feinstein, representing California since 1992, remains a significant figure in American politics. Her dedication, resilience, and long-standing service to her state and nation are commendable. But as she recovers from her recent fall, a topic simmers in the shadows, gaining traction: the necessity of political term limits. Let's lay out the facts. Following her trip, Feinstein's office confirmed her brief hospitalization. While the scans were clear and the senator has since returned home, her health has been a topic of concern before. Earlier this year, Feinstein was absent from the Senate for over 2 months due to health issues. Complications from shingles, such as encephalitis and Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, now see her navigating the world in a wheelchair. But this isn't just about Feinstein's health. It's about a system that allows politicians to remain in power for decades. It is in the best interest of the country. Well, we'll answer that. As of now, Feinstein is the oldest sitting U.S. senator, and while age itself shouldn't necessarily be a barrier for public service, the critical question is whether there should be a limit on how long one can serve. Over time, multiple reports have mentioned Feinstein's struggles with short-term memory loss, which has affected her ability to effectively participate in committee hearings. The Judiciary Committee, which Feinstein sits on, relies heavily on her presence to vote on pivotal nominee. Last month, for example, Feinstein appeared confused and began delivering a speech instead of participating in a simple vote. Watch.
Senator Feinstein.
Say aye.
Pardon me?
Aye.
Yeah.
Just say aye.
I would like to support a yes vote on this. It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense. And it funds priorities submitted.
Yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just aye.
Thank you.
In an ever-evolving world, the challenges of the 2020s are starkly different from those of the 1990s. The rapidly changing landscape demands adaptability, fresh perspective, and an in-depth understanding of the modern challenges. While experience is inevitable, there is something to be said for the infusion of new blood and ideas into the political arena. The whispers urging Feinstein to resign earlier this year from her fellow Democrats reflects a growing sentiment. As 12 Democrats declare for Feinstein's long-hold seat, a new generation is waiting in the wings, eager to tackle current challenges head-on. And while Governor Gavin Newsom has hinted at the potential replacements, such as Representative Barbara Lee, the broader question remains: should there be a systemic change? The debate on term limits is far from new. It's rooted in the belief that politics should not be a lifelong career, but a temporary service to one's country. Lifelong tenure risks the possibility of complacency, stagnation, and, as we've seen in Feinstein's case, potential health issues impacting duty performance. By establishing term limits, we might promote a continuous cycle of fresh perspectives, invigorating the political sphere with modern solutions and novel approaches to old problems. So the flip side, opponents argue that term limits may rob the political system of the depth of experience and institutional knowledge, rendering it susceptible to mistake and inefficiencies. But let's consider another angle. Across various professions, there exist guidelines for mandatory retirement ages, from commercial pilots to military personnel. Now, that there's a widespread understanding that with age comes specific challenges. Why then does politics, a field with monumental stake, not have similar systems in place? Furthering this perspective, it's crucial to recognize that the American people deserve representatives at their best, both mentally and physically, as the world watches Feinstein's health closely. It's an opportune moment to reflect on the broader picture. Dianne Feinstein's health challenges should be a wake-up call for America, not as a critique of her dedicated service, but as a testament to the pressing need to reevaluate our political structure. We must ask ourselves, does a lifelong political career truly serve the best interests of the American people, or does it potentially hinder progress and adaptation to contemporary challenges? As you reflect on tonight's report, think about the future you envision for this nation. The ongoing debate about term limits isn't just political jargon. It's about the revolution and growth of our nation. And as the history has shown, societies that fail to evolve inevitably stagnate. America, the choice is ours. Do we want fresh perspectives steering our ship, or do we remain anchored to the past? The implications of our decisions today will shape the America tomorrow. Let's check back in with Angie for more details on Gates' pro-faith bill.
Thank you, Elijah. Let's get into the news. Republican Florida Rep. Matt Gaetz has put forth the National Prayer in Schools Act, aimed at allowing students and staff to engage in prayer within educational institutions. This legislative push is in response to instances where schools have prohibited prayer on campuses. The move follows the Supreme Court's June 22 ruling, which affirmed religious freedom rights, siding with a football coach dismissed over his in-game prayers. Gaetz stated, "This legislation unlocks religious freedom so that in every classroom in America there will be time for students to pray if they choose." Critics suggest Gates' motivation might be politically driven, but supporters see it as upholding First Amendment rights. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Biden photos have surfaced that he wants to keep secret. Elijah has more.
Now for the real news. In the political realm, we've witnessed countless shockwaves, but this week's revelations might just top the charts. What if a name wasn't just a name, but a brand? A brand sold to the highest bidder. The Biden family bank statements have landed, and they paint a picture that many of us have suspected but needed confirmation on. As you tune in tonight, we'll peel back the layers on Biden family's financial engagements, which are now in the glaring spotlight. And believe me, you'll want to stay till the end for our final thought, as we'll take a pivotal question about the direction in which our great nation is headed. The Biden family name, synonymous with political legacy, now faces a storm. Leading Chairman James Comer, leading the House Oversight Committee, unveiled information detailing a web of transactions and deposits from foreign oligarchs funneled into Hunter Biden's accounts during Joe Biden's tenure as vice president. Consider the scope, as Hunter Biden was seemingly selling not just a name, but an entire brand. This brand appears to have been the access key to millions from oligarchs situated in countries like Kazakhstan, Russia, and Ukraine. And what services did Hunter provide for these hefty sums? According to Comer, it wasn't much more opening the gates to the Biden network, including Joe Biden himself, a telling illustration in the meals of the framed Cafe Milano, where Joe Biden, then vice president, shared tables with these global oligarchs, all of whom had sent hefty sums to his son. Friends, revelations like these bring to mind the ever-fluctuating value of our nation's currency, and since the 1970s, the U.S. dollar's value has plunged, losing a staggering 85% of its power. Decades have passed since our dollar parted ways with the gold standard. Now, this separation allowed the government an unchecked freedom to print currency. The result, a massive surge in inflation. Much like the Bidens finding ways to bolster their brand, many Americans look to strengthen their financial standing with gold, an asset that's proven its mettle against inflation. Now, our go-to place is Noble Gold Investments. Not only can you invest confidently, but there's also a gift, a 24-karat, quarter-ounce gold standard coin, absolutely free. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com or 1-877-646-5347. Their 5-star reviews prove they're one of the gold companies that stands firm. With a safeguard in mind, let's dive back into the Biden debacle. According to the committee's memo, the Biden family collectively received over a whopping $20 million from foreign transactions. The distribution was widespread, extending even to multiple family members, but the ingenuity of this alleged scheme shines through their methodology. Payments were meticulously hidden, passed through shell companies, and later funneled through Hunter's business associates with Devon Archer. And from Burisma alone, Archer and Hunter raked in over $6.5 million. And while these transactions are concerning on their own, perhaps the most disconcerting element is a seeming double life led by then Vice President Joe Biden. Recent documents released showcase photographs of Joe Biden with foreign figures that Hunter was intimately financially tied with. This despite Joe Biden's earlier assertion that he was neither in business with these individuals nor had any discussions about these dealings. Watch.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Wow. I kind of want to give up. I just want to give up. Oh, I hate this country. Just kidding. I love this country. I just hate who runs it. It's a black pill. But we love this country, so these photos reveal a different story because Joe Biden having dinners with them post their payments to Hunter. But the discrepancies don't end there. Joe Biden, during his presidential candidacy, confidently assured the American populace that he hadn't received a single penny from any foreign source in his life. Watch.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life.
Really? However, committee memos seem to refute the claim, with the White House deciding to decline to correct President Biden's statements. One can't help but question the transparency of this administration. In fact, the murkiness around these foreign business deals doesn't just raise eyebrows about the Biden family's integrity, but magnifies serious concerns for national security. However, as Representative Comer told Fox News this week, the mainstream media continues to run cover for the Biden administration and family for refusing to report on piling evidence. Listen.
2 weeks, we produced more evidence of wrongdoing by the Biden family. We produced more links to Joe Biden. And 2 weeks, we produced more evidence of wrongdoing by the Biden family. We produced more links to Joe Biden. And yet the mainstream media continues to turn a blind eye. I keep thinking at some point they're going to break. And we're seeing some movement from certain networks like CBS, but we still have a long way to go. But the one thing that drives me crazy is anytime I go down into a SCIF and get a briefing from the FBI, or anytime we do a transcribed interview like we did last week, you'll either have Jamie Raskin or Dan Goldman come out and tell the press complete lies about what we just heard, and the press will run with it. We produce bank records, we produce evidence, everything that I've said about criminal activity by the Bidens, I can back up with evidence. Yet one member of the House Oversight Committee on the Democrat side can come out and tell a narrative to the press and they run with it.
As we close this special report, the significance of this revelation cannot be overstressed. This isn't just about financial transactions or political favors. It's about the core values that underpin our great nation. It's about trust, transparency, and integrity. The American people deserve leaders whose only say that they uphold these values, but demonstrate them consistently. The Biden family bank statements bring forth pressing questions that every American should be asking. Did our leaders compromise our nation for personal gain? And if so, at what cost? These are the very questions that determine the direction of our democracy. And more than ever, we must seek the truth, protect our values, and ensure that our nation's legacy remains unblemished. America deserves nothing less. Let's check back in with Angie for more details on the assault of Rand Paul's aide.
Thank you, Elijah. Let's get into the news. Philip Todd, a staffer for Senator Rand Paul, faced a violent stabbing attack in Washington, D.C. last March. Disturbing footage shows Todd leaving a restaurant when Glenn Neal assaulted and repeatedly stabbed him. Neal, shockingly released from federal prison only a day prior, is currently jailed due to psychological instability and faces charges of assault with a deadly weapon. The incident has intensified concerns over public safety and perceived hostilities towards conservatives in Democrat-majority urban areas. As Todd recovers, his family has sought privacy, emphasizing the gravity of the near-fatal encounter. Calls grow for Republicans to address safety concerns, particularly in Democrat-led cities. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Did you hear Biden broke the heart of a Gold Star mother? Elijah has more details.
Now for the real news. In the annals of presidential gaffes and missteps, this week's revelations may stand alone. A heart-wrenching testimony from a Gold Star mother pulls back the curtains on Presidential Biden's controversial remarks. Imagine for a moment the deepest pain of losing a child, only to have the world leader misrepresent his own loss in comparison. The anguish multiplied. Cheryl Rex, a grieving mother, relived her ordeal this week, sharing an encounter that has left her and indeed the nation questioning the president's authenticity. As you settle into tonight's special report, brace yourselves. Not only will we dive into this emotional testimony, but we'll also explore the larger narrative surrounding Beau Biden. And you don't want to miss our final thought. It's an insight that every American should ponder. The sacred bond between a leader and its citizens is founded on trust. For the Gold Star families who have made the ultimate sacrifice, this trust is even more significant. However, this week's testimony from Cheryl Rex, a Gold Star mother, brought to light a painful narrative, raising questions about the very nature of his trust. Rex, still reeling from her son's recent death, recounted a disturbing encounter with President Biden. When Biden approached me, Rex said, his words to me were, "My wife, Jill, and I know how you feel. We also lost our son and brought him home in a flag-draped coffin." Watch.
I was told to pack an overnight bag and be ready to go to Delaware for a dignified transfer to receive my son's body. Myself and the other families of our 13 were waiting for the plane arrival to the United States. When Joe Biden, our elected president, entered the room, when he approached me, his words to me were, my wife Jill and I know how you feel. We lost our son as well and brought him home in a flag-draped coffin. My heart started beating faster, and I started shaking, knowing that their son died from cancer and they were able to be by his side. Also wondering how someone could honestly, be so heartless to say he knew how I felt a little over 24 hours and learning of my son's death. After this encounter, I have never had any personal correspondence, nor has my son been honored or his name spoken by this commander-in-chief or his administration.
The implication was clear. Biden was drawing a parallel between his son's passing and the tragic loss faced by Rex, a sentiment that might have been comforting had it been based in truth. Yet the reality was far from it, as Beau Biden, the president's beloved son, succumbed to cancer long after his military service ended. He was not, as Biden seemed to indicate, killed in action and brought home in a red flag-draped casket. This oversight, whether accidental or deliberate, turned a moment of potential solace into one of increased grief for Rex. How could someone be so heartless, she questioned, echoing the sentiments of many. In moments of such profound sorrow, caring for oneself becomes paramount. Your health is a cornerstone of resilience, especially in times of tragedy. This is why during such an overwhelming time, it's vital to nourish your body with the best. A supplement containing CLA, known to support weight management, can be an essential addition. It's nature's way of helping reduce fat storage while enhancing fat breakdown. In trying times, let's not subject ourselves or neglect ourselves. Get the supplement at 51% off with added bonuses. Visit www.trimwithgary.com. Prioritize health, even in heartache. With renewed vigor, let's dive back into the central issue. This isn't the first time Biden's narrative about Beau have come under scrutiny. The assertion that Beau's brain cancer might have resulted from burn pits in Iraq has been a recurrent theme. Fox News host Laura Ingraham, with a noticeable fervor, criticized Biden for those repeated inconsistencies, particularly while engaging with Gold Star families. What kind of person does this, she asked, emphasizing the widely known fact that Beau died of cancer not in Iraq. Watch.
Be president, and I'm not, just not hyperbole, is my son Beau.
Now, while his use of the tragedy to score political points is, look, I think it's tasteless and it's tacky. Imagine lying about how your own son died. Well, that's gross enough, but it gets worse. He lied about that not once, not twice, but at least 3 times. And that's only counting the public speeches he gave. That all of it takes it to a new low, even for Joe.
I say this as a father of a man who won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, and lost his life in Iraq. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq, the war in Ukraine, and think of Iraq because that's where my son died. Things changed in our life and our family. I lost my son. We lost our son in Iraq.
What kind of person does this? Beau died of cancer, not in Iraq. This is common knowledge. But perhaps the most disturbing of Biden's tragedy lies is what we heard in yesterday's congressional testimony of Cheryl Rex. Now,
the charging narrative surrounding Biden's death raises deep concerns. It is mere forgetfulness or calculated move. To Ingram, and indeed many Americans, using personal tragedy to connect or score political points feels inauthentic, if not downright manipulative. California Representative Darrell Issa organized this hearing and undoubtedly aware of the implications it holds for the Biden administration, which is already grappling with wavering public support. As another Gold Star mother spoke, the very walls of the Congress seemed to reverberate with the weight of her words. Her son had been told to clean up the airport for the Taliban, a narrative that not only highlights the administration's Afghan policy, but also underscores the anguish of families left to pick up the pieces. What kind of disrespect, what kind of hatred for our military, what kind of mess, Kelly Burnett, mother of Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor, however, demanded, her voice echoing the sentiments of countless families and citizens alike. Watch.
After seeing their friends die, picking them up off the ground, sending them off, then being told to destroy everything at the airport, they were told, you got to clean up the airport. We can't leave it dirty for the Taliban. They had to clean up the airport. What kind of disrespect? What kind of hatred for our military? What kind of mess? Confusion, deceit, lost, angry, sad, heartbroken, and disgusted. These are the feelings that the service members felt and are still feeling. These are the feelings I'm feeling. Taylor's dad's feeling. His sisters, his family, his friends. We were told lies, given incomplete reports, incorrect reports. Total disrespect.
In an era where trust is fragile, today's testimony serves as a stark reminder of the responsibilities that come with leadership. The relationship between a nation's leader and its Gold Star families is sacred. It's not just about respect, it's about recognizing the profound sacrifices these families have made. Cheryl Rex's experience shines a light on the critical need for authenticity and empathy. As we reflect on her words and the reactions that they've spurred, one thing is clear: the American people deserve transparency, especially in their moments of desperate grief. This story isn't just about one Gold Star mother's experience. It's a cautionary tale about the integrity expected in those in power. And as we turn off our screens tonight, let us remember to hold our leaders to the standard. American Gold Star families, indeed, all its citizens demand nothing less. Let's go to Angie for details on Biden's EV dreams getting unplugged.
Thank you, Elijah. Let's get into the news. Proterra, an electric bus and battery manufacturer, has declared bankruptcy after its value dropped from $1.6 billion to $362 million. This company, which President Biden and Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm have endorsed, has faced criticism for its product quality, including issues with bus chassis leading to vehicle defects. Despite the company's struggles, Biden continues to advocate for zero-emission vehicles, allocating $10 billion from a $1.9 trillion package towards such initiatives. The close relationship between the Biden administration and Proterra, including Granholm's previous substantial investment in the company, raises ethics questions. Proterra's CEO Gareth Joyce blames macroeconomic conditions for the bankruptcy, but some argue management decisions played a significant role. Dive deeper and get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Now back to Elijah with details on Oakland PD's new solution to crime.
Now for the real news. Imagine a city where the answer to crime surge isn't more patrolling or advanced security, but air horns. That's right, in Democrat-run Oakland, police are now urging residents to blare air horns to alert neighbors of danger. If you think this is an episode of a comedy show, you're actually mistaken. Burglaries have shot up 41%, robberies are up more than 20%, and the city's response? Well, get an air horn. We'll dive deep into this alarming development. But stick around till the end for our final thought on how this air horn saga speaks to a larger issue. In Oakland, California, the very fabric of personal security seems to be thinning. With crime rates climbing at an alarming pace, the local police department has devised a rather unconventional method to curb the crime menace, which is urging residents to use air horns. Yes, amidst a city echoing with distress, the answer seems to be more noise. According to CNN, police are not only recommending the purchase of these air horns, but are further suggesting the installation of security bars on doors and windows. Essentially, if the residents of Oakland feel under threat, they should honk for help. Listen.
But Tony Bird is staying. She lives with a locked front gate and 5 security cameras. Bird says Oakland police recommended steel braces for residential doors and air horns.
The idea is if you set it off, your neighbor would hear it, set theirs off, and more people are alert that there's danger.
Excellent. Tony Bird, the local resident in the clip, heeded the advice, equipping her home with not one but 3 air horns. The type of crime that we're seeing feel much more violent. The consequences feel much more severe. And it feels like the ones targeted are the most vulnerable, she mentioned. This point paints a harrowing picture of a city in turmoil, desperate for respite. Speaking of vulnerable residents and turning our attention to an event that transpired on July 30th, 2023, a 75-year-old Oakland woman showcased sheer resilience. When faced with the threat of 2 alleged armed intruders, she was armed with more than just an air horn. This false Septuagint wielded a .357 Magnum revolver, firing a shot at the alleged perpetrators. The intruders retaliated with multiple shots, but promptly fled. And the woman, uninjured, later hailed as a superwoman by her daughter. Watch.
And Julie, she kept calm and reacted strategically, even as these strangers burst into her bedroom demanding valuables. She grabbed her gun and fired a single shot, only to come under fire herself.
It's absolutely unbelievable what she was able to do.
A 75-year-old woman is being called a hero by neighbors for firing a shot at 2 home invaders. Those strangers fired back. Luckily, she wasn't hurt. I spoke to her daughter, who did not want her face shown.
It's amazing. She is a superwoman. We're all just lauding her and just amazed at her wherewithal.
It happened on Ettrick Street in the Chabot Park neighborhood in the Hills at about 2 in the morning Wednesday. 2 men kicked through the woman's front door. They went straight for her bedroom, pointed guns at her face, and demanded her phone. What the intruders didn't know was that she owns a .357 Magnum.
She had the presence of mind to reach in her nightstand and get a weapon. And she had it under the covers at first, and then when she saw an opening, she fired a shot.
The men fired back about 17 to 20 shots before leaving with valuables, including jewelry.
We went over afterwards, and we saw gunshots all on the walls.
It's a miracle that she's alive after the number of shots that were fired in her home.
Neighbors say she did the right thing.
This woman is a hero. I really admire her. She kept her wits about her.
Her daughter said this should serve as a warning.
I believe that this is a message also for the criminals, that people in Oakland, we're tired of the lawlessness. People are standing up. People are fighting back.
They're really playing with with their lives, because all these people around here are armed.
These harrowing incidents bring us to pause and reflect on the security landscape of Oakland. While crime has people up at night, we do have a solution to ensure that those precious hours of sleep aren't compromised. Residents of Oakland may be kept awake by increasing concerns about the rampant crime, but here's something to guarantee then some peaceful shut-eye. Mike Lindell, the MyPillow maven, ensures a restful sleep amid the chaos. Find solace in the comfort of MyPillow. Drift into dreamland faster and remain encanenced in slumber longer. And with the Giza Dream Sheets and mattress topper, restful reprieve awaits. Exclusive for our viewers. Use the promo code NNN for a whopping 66% off at sleepwithgary.com. Don't let the unsettling news rob you of sleep. Take back the night with MyPillow. Now continuing on, one must ponder the underlying cause of such an unconventional approach to crime prevention. The air horns, it seems, are a desperate cry for help, a symbol of a city grappling with its shadows. But will a blaring horn deter a determined criminal, or is it just a temporary salve on the fettering wound? As crime rates escalate, the city's underfunded and overwhelmed police department appears to be grasping at straws. Residents are justifiably frustrated, fearing for their lives and the safety of their families. Urging them to resort to such rudimentary measures only underscores the city's failures to address the root cause of the problem. Additionally, the mention of installing security bars further emphasize the sense of entrapment and siege the citizens must feel. Instead of addressing the cause and ensuring law enforcement is inadequately equipped, the city's response has been reactionary at best. And while the brave 75-year-old woman managed to defend herself, how many more have to resort to such drastic measures for protection? Shouldn't the city's role be to ensure safety rather than delegate that responsibility back to its citizens? Tonight's revelation isn't just about air horns or rising crime rates. It's a poignant reflection of a city and perhaps a nation in distress. When governance fails, citizens are left to fend for themselves in a myriad of ways. Oakland's air horn solution speaks to a larger problem when leadership doesn't prioritize their safety and well-being of its residents. Makeshift solutions arise, but at the end of the day, the air horn is just a temporary loud outcry. The true solution lies in addressing the root causes, equipping our law enforcement, and ensuring every citizen feels safe and protected. And until that happens, the blare of the air horn will serve as a haunting reminder of promises unkept. Now let's check back in with Angie to find out the place of the second GOP primary debate.
Thanks, Elijah. The RNC has declared Fox Business as the host for the second GOP primary debate on September 27th in Simi Valley, California. This follows the RNC's collaboration with Rumble, Univision, and the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Tighter eligibility criteria have been established for this debate. Candidates must pledge allegiance to the GOP nominee, abstain from non-RNC debates, achieve a 50,000 unique donor threshold, and meet specified polling requirements. Notable figures like Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Nikki Haley have already met these requirements. Fox Business and Univision's partnership aims to offer Americans an in-depth view of candidates' stances on vital issues. The RNC's rigorous vetting indicates a strong commitment to core conservative values. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tabbing the link in our bio. The border is worse than ever now. We have armed cartel members coming across. Elijah has more details.
And now for the real news, a frightening and truly urgent development on the southern frontier. Images that may chill your spine. Armed and armored cartel operatives crossing the Texas border, lurking, posing an undeniable and escalating threat to American security, your family's security, and what is being done. The current administration seems paralyzed, if not indifferent. A hotspot for cartel activity is heating up, and the response is inaction. Crickets. You won't want to miss this special report as we dive into the shocking details and unravel the implications of this burgeoning crisis. Stay with us until the final thought to understand why this matters to you and your family. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation in front in Texas is not something to be ignored. A significant hotspot for cartel activity and drug trafficking, it now faces an alarming increase in armed incursions. Suspected cartel affiliates donned in body armor are navigating through the terrain, leaving law enforcement chasing shadows, and the Biden administration, their eyes are averted. Photos obtained by Fox News show 3 suspects captured on camera last Saturday appearing armed and threatening, while our elite Border Patrol team found nothing. Take a look.
Images of those cartel gunmen are startling, and a law enforcement source tells me it happened Saturday night down in the Rio Grande Valley. We'll get right into those images. Take a look. They show a group of suspected cartel gunmen captured on drawbridge cameras as they cross illegally into Fronton, Texas, a heavy cartel area with significant drug smuggling. You can see they are armed with rifles. Some of them are wearing body armor as they are moving through the brush. What you're looking at is the U.S. side of the border. I'm told elite Border Patrol BORTAC agents were called out to the area. They searched for these men, but were unable to find them. And this happened just days after an armed smuggler was seen here in Eagle Pass, where we are. Take a look at these images released by Texas DPS from one of their drones, again showing an armed human smuggler who has a rifle guiding a group of illegal immigrants in the middle of the river here in Eagle Pass. They gave the GPS coordinates to Border Patrol. They tried going after this guy, but he was able to make it back to Mexico.
This is no isolated incident. Encounters with these dangerous criminals are frequent in Fronton. In June, authorities detained 5 individuals thought to be a part of the Northwest or Northeast cartel at this very location. You would think that such serious breaches would elicit a strong response, but instead, the Biden administration seems to be turning a blind eye. The migrants, most of whom are not criminals, are entering the country under this administration's lax policies. Dangerous criminals, including 4 sex offenders caught within a single day, are taking advantage of the situation, putting innocent lives in danger. The record high migrant encounters have only worsened the situation, with July's initial numbers already up by 30%. The administration may claim success with an anti-smuggling campaign, leading to thousands of arrests, but it's like throwing a bucket of water on a raging inferno. The cartels are still there, still menacing our borders, still clear and a present danger. It's like an immigration emergency, which reminds me of the economic emergency looming. The world's changing unpredictably, natural, political, or economic crisis, no scripts, no warnings. That's why it's vital to be prepared. Right now, My Patriot Supply has a rare 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food kit Protect your family, one kit per person. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Visit preparewithgary.com now to get your 25% discount. And while the Biden administration expands lawful pathways for migrants, which could further incentivize illegal immigration, the strain on law enforcement continues to grow. These half-hearted measures are a mere drop in the bucket against the well-equipped and well-funded cartels. In an interview with Fox News, Texas DPS Lieutenant Chris Alvarez stressed the importance of a strong law enforcement presence at the southern border to deter and prevent these dangerous individuals from crossing over. Watch.
What about these new pictures of men, armed men carrying rifles, crossing over to the border in the United States? What are Americans supposed to think of these images that we're seeing?
Senator, that's a clear reality of what we're dealing with at the border right now. It's not just, groups of asylum seekers. It's a criminal element. It's the Mexican drug cartels that have been able to expand their criminal network throughout the United States. And now that we're seeing armed gunmen crossing the river unimpeded, wearing full tactical gear, similar to what we wear or what the military uses. These are individuals, these are operatives that are actually on the U.S. side, bringing drugs or bringing high-valued individuals across the border. That's why it's so important that us as a state, that we maintain our presence at the border with infrastructure, with the boots on the ground. That's why it's very important to have that type of partnership as well with Border Patrol, working together, trying to prevent these criminals from entering the country, because it is a national security threat when you have these individuals come across the border. They want to cause harm, and they are causing harm by killing tens of thousands of Americans with fentanyl.
These aren't just members or abstract threats. These are real people crossing our border with weapons, body armor, and a complete disregard for our laws and our safety. Security of our homes, our children, and our communities is at risk. Despite evidence, despite calls for action, despite the very real threat to our nation's security, there's a strange silence from the top. Silence is deafening, and we as a nation must not be silent. We must not ignore the imminent threat. In a recent interview with Fox Business, Representative Chip Roy noted that the silence from the current administration, saying that it is a non-response to the crisis, actually emboldens cartel members and other dangerous individuals to continue crossing the border. Watch.
But these cartels are emboldened and they are empowered by a president who does not care about our southern border. He is allowing it to become completely run by the cartels. And if anybody has not seen The Sound of Freedom, go see it. Go see what's happening in the world. Go see who has the power. Go see who is, abusing these young girls, these young children. We're allowing that to happen on our watch. No more. That's my message. Governor Abbott is being sued by the Department of Homeland Security and by this administration because he dares to try to stop the flow at our border, to stop the death, the fentanyl, to stop the poisonings, to stop armed intruders. The president and this administration could go straight to hell. We have a job to do. In Congress, my message to all my Republican colleagues, we are not going to fund a government that's at war with the people of Texas. We are not going to fund a government that's perpetuating the lawlessness, empowering cartels, allowing fentanyl to kill Americans, and allow little girls to get raped in stash houses in Texas. Enough. This is our fight. And I'm tired of Republicans who are giving lip service to it and for years have been supporting it because they want cheap labor. We need to recontrol our border. Even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gets it, Stuart. Yeah. We have an obligation to have a secure border.
In the face of this alarming situation, we must ask, what does it mean to be as a nation if we cannot protect our borders? What does it mean to have a leadership if our leaders are silent in the face of danger? These aren't rhetorical questions. These are the sharp reality that we face today. Our border is under threat and our families are under threat. This is not a partisan issue. This is a matter of national security. A nation that cannot secure its borders cannot secure its future. The American people deserve protection, action, and leadership. And until decisive action is taken, the flood of dangerous criminals will continue to infiltrate our country with impunity. It's time for the administration to wake up and confront the very real and dangerous threat to our doorstep. It's time for America to demand action. And now Angie has details on McConnell defending Biden.
Let's get into the news. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has expressed reluctance towards pursuing the impeachment of President Joe Biden, diverging from certain House Republicans in advocating for it. In a recent interview with the New York Times, McConnell indicated a desire to move away from the frequent impeachment cycles. while House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has shown readiness to initiate impeachment proceedings against Biden, focusing on alleged pay-for-play involvements. McConnell seems less inclined. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi contends that Republicans are using impeachment threats to divert attention from the administration's accomplishments. The difference in stance between McConnell and other GOP figures highlights an internal divide on the party's approach towards the Biden administration. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. And that is all I have for you tonight. Now here's Elijah with messages from our mailbag.
Welcome to our Prime Tweet segment, folks. Last night we posed a question to our dedicated followers. From Feinstein's health and political term limits to the Biden family's dealings and the raising security concerns in Oakland and the Texas border, which story concerns you the most and why? Ricky Chris 4647 weighed in with, they want you to look the other way. That way, they can put the knife in your back while you're looking the other way. It's a sentiment that many conservatives share. Ricky, distract and act behind the scenes. It's an age-old political play. From Red Phoenix 111, Oakland, lots of corruption there, he said. Corruption seems to be a reoccurring theme lately, doesn't it? It's essential that we keep a close eye and hold our officials accountable. Gates Masher 01 chimed in with passionate response, saying, everything concerns me and my brothers in arms about what's going on in our country and the world. You're doing the good work for the people, Gary, by providing us the truth, because we're busy like you providing for our families. We appreciate that. We're here to provide clarity amidst the chaos. Even though I'm not Gary, I'll do my best to fill his shoes. Our servicemen and women deserve nothing less than the truth. Reader Drum pointed out the issues of civil liberties and the rise of totalitarian society. Civil liberties are the cornerstone of our republic. We must stay vigilant to protect our freedoms. And finally, Lizzie Q844 remarked, I would say in general, corruption in DC in all aspects. Corruption, especially in the heart of our political system, is a plague we all must fight against. Thanks for the reminder, Lizzie. Thank you all for your insights and for joining in the conversation. And now moving on to another hard-hitting segment, Looking at You, where tonight we highlight someone who deserves the spotlight. Tonight's Looking at You segment celebrates the tenacity of journalism. We shine a light on Fox News reporter Peter Doocy. In a recent exchange, Doocy courageously pressed President Biden on a significant issue, alleged involvement in his son Hunter's foreign dealings. Backed by Devin Archer's testimony, which suggests that Joe Biden was present in over 20 calls related to these transactions. Doocy showcased what journalism is all about, seeking the truth. Instead of receiving a clear answer, Biden labeled it a lousy question and retreated. Take a look.
But these cartels are emboldened.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them, talking business. Is that what?
I never talk business to anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We commend reporters like Doocy who, despite potential backlash, continue to hold our leaders accountable. It's not about politics, it's about transparency and truth. Peter Doocy, for your relentless pursuit of the facts, tonight we're looking at you. As we wrap up tonight's show, it's worth reflecting on the narratives woven through each story, all poignant in their significance to the fabric of America. From Senator Feinstein's hospitalization, raising age-old questions about lifelong political careers and the need for fresher perspectives, to unsettling financial revelations surrounding the Biden family demanding transparency and accountability at the highest levels of our democracy. The chilling accounts of Gold Star mother Cheryl Rex and a violent attack on Philip Todd in broad daylight serve as sobering reminders that we must demand more from our leaders. Empathy, clarity, and action. Oakland's surge in crime paints a dire picture, begging the question, are air horns truly our last line of defense? As cartel activity rises, the silence from our leadership echoes loudly. Representative Gates' legislation reminds us of the delicate dance between state religion and personal choice. Proterra's fall, the upcoming GOP debate, and McConnell's hesitance all provided insight into the intricate layers of politics, economics, and ethics changing our country. These stories, intertwined with our daily lives, dictate the trajectory of our nation. They matter because they speak to our freedoms, our values, and our future. Let's remember to hold our leaders accountable, cherish our liberties, and aim for an America that embodies its foundational principles. So that's a wrap on tonight's N3 Primetime. It was great to be back on the Next News Network, and I'll be back tomorrow night while Gary is in his secret mission, raising money to overthrow Maduro's government. A huge thank you to Angie for her impeccable news briefs, and to all of you joining us and making the live chat buzz with insights and questions. As we've delved into the complex tapestry of our nation's current events, it becomes clear that there are certain constants that we can rely on. Much like gold in an ever-shifting economy, with the US dollar losing 85% of its value since the 70s, after detaching from the gold standard, as potential inflation casts its shadow, gold remains an anchor of stability. I personally trust Noble Gold Investments, and they have an offer for you. Invest with them and receive a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Head to noblegoldinvestments.com or give them a call at 1-877-646-5347. To our vibrant community, continue to share, engage, and build a bridge with one another, both here and on Twitter. You're the backbone of thriving, informed America. If our show resonated with you, spread the word and share the link. I'm Elijah Schaefer, and remember, I'm not here just to inform you or to keep your seat warm while Gary is away. I'm here to empower you to be a beacon of change and leadership. Good night, America.